I'm going to present to you regarding the calendar module in the BlueEHS. And the presentation is going to be divided basically into a few parts. The first part is going to be an overview of the calendar. Secondly, I'm going to tell some of the settings that are there on the calendar. Then I'm going to go into a phase where I'm going to explain the working of the calendar, and then coming back fourthly to some of the major settings that are there in the calendar. So there'll be, I'll go into the settings in between the presentation again and again, so that it goes with the flow and everybody understands how the settings of the calendar works. So firstly, I'm going to go into the BlueEHS screen. Going to the BlueEHS screen. So this is the opening screen of the BlueEHS generally, which is set by default. This is a screen which shows the workflow of the various items that various areas of the EMR that a user can go into. This is the opening screen. Now, if a user wants to set their default screen as the calendar, they can do so by using a preference they have. If you go into the sub menu. So basically, there are two menus that you will basically see in the system. And when you log into the BlueEHS, there is a main menu which will allow you to show, which will show you the various areas of the EMR, and there is a sub menu on the top right hand corner which will show you the various settings that a user can do on the system. So according to the kind of user, if it is an administrator, they will have access to many things. But as far as an non-administrator who is just a user like a front office or a biller, they won't have as many settings. They might have some settings based on the privileges that are given to them. So as a user, you have the authority to to decide what you are going to see in the opening screen as you log into the system. You have something called as the preferences. So if I click the preferences, this is available to all the users that are using the system. So I click on preferences, and here I can set whether I am going to see the workflow when I log in, or if I'm going to see the calendar if I log in. So I'm going to set the calendar and I'm going to save it. So in this case, going forward, when this user logs into the system, they will see not the workflow which you initially saw, but they will be seeing the calendar on the first login. So let me just log out and log in. So I'm just logging out from the system and logging in again. So I have to put in my facility ID, which is webinar, which is a dummy site I have created for this webinar. And I'm going to put in my username and password. And when I log in, I should not be seeing the workflow which I saw initially, but I should be seeing the calendar initially. After this pop-up, I can just close it down. And this is the calendar that you have in the system. This is our calendar. So just want to give you a slight overview of the calendar before we go into some of the settings. As far as the calendar is concerned, this is used primarily by a doctor's office to set up provider appointments as well as patient appointments. Let me first explain what is patient appointments. I mean, it is a very self-suggestive thing as to what time, what patient is going to come into the clinic. You can arrange the patients for a day in this calendar so that you can pre-know what are the patients that are coming in for the day and prepare yourself for their coming in and their treatment. So that is what the patient appointment is for. There is also a segment known as the provider appointment, where you can mark a provider as in office, say from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. he's in office, but from 1 to 2 he's at lunch, but 2 to 4 he's again in the calendar. So again in office, and from 4 onwards to to evening he's out of office. So those kind of settings also can be done on the calendar. One, the provider events, the events that are relating to the provider or the doctor, and two, the patient events, that is the visits of the patients can be arranged in an order. So going into the first, I just wanted to say, I'll just explain the tabs that are there coming from the left hand side. So we have the facility. If I click on the facility, this will list the various facilities that are there for this practice. Suppose there is a practice called, say, telehealth, and they might have more than one facilities, one in, say, a place called Foothill, and another in a place called Upland. So based on the number of facilities that this practice has, all the facilities will be listed here, and from here you can choose, like, what facilities appointment you want to see at this time, or what facilities you do not want to see at this time. Now, since there is only one here, you don't have much of a choice. But if you go into the provider, you see there are two providers in this facility. One is, just a moment. Okay, I'm sorry if for some time my screen was not seen. So I'll just repeat what I just mentioned to you thus far, just as a recap. First of all, what you can do is, just a moment. Okay. Okay. Uh, there is a preference area for the users where they can set what is the first screen that they would like to see when they log into the system, which is the dashboard screen, which they can choose any of the following. And I have chosen calendar, so that means when I log into the system, it will be the calendar that is going to be shown to me or shown to the user at the first login. And secondly, I was just mentioning about the patient appointments and the provider appointments that you can see on a calendar, you can set on a calendar screen. And this is the calendar screen that you have. And I was talking about the facilities that a practice might have. There are various facilities that a practice might have, as well as various providers a practice might have. And those are listed here. So if you want to see only the appointments of one facility at a time, you can choose this. Or if you want to choose to see only the appointments of one provider at a time, you can choose one single provider and set event, and you will see only the appointments or the calendar for that one particular provider at that moment of time. Now, just want to go into some more detail on these particular settings. If you want to add another facility to the clinic, I will show you the settings for that. Now, it is in the menu. If you go into the main menu, if you go into the facilities section, I'm going to click on the facilities section. Now the only one facility that is listed there is being shown here. Now, one of the things that I want to mention is some of these settings will be only available to the administrator. Like this add facility, this won't be available to all the users. This will be available to the administrator, who is basically in charge of taking care of the IT of the practice. So I'm clicking on this add facility button, and here I have the option to add another facility. So I'm going to add a facility called Foothill. Foothill. I'm going to give an address. And I'm going to give a phone number. I'm going to give a city. And put the country as well. And I'm going to give a fax number. And I'm going to give a zip code. And I'm going to give a tax ID. And I'm just going to give a short name for this facility called FH Foothill, so that we can recognize on the basis of short name. And I'm going to give a color to this facility, and this I'm going to color it as light blue. and okay. And I'm going to make this a service location. A service location, okay. A service location is a place where a patient is seen, and there is also a option called billing location. When you select billing location, it means that along with the service location, this is a place from where the doctor's office will bill the claims associated to that visit. So if it's a billing location, you have to check it as a billing location. So if a practice like, say, a practice called telehealth might have two service locations, one at Foothill, one at Upland, but it might only be billing out of one single office, which is the Foothill office. So if it's a billing location as well as a service location, you have to check both boxes. In case it is only a service location, you have to check the service location box. And if it's a billing location only, and some of the offices might have just a billing location, which is not a service location at all, then in that case, you will uncheck the service location and keep the billing location checked. So once you check both those, you can save it. So this facility has been added, this facility called Foothill. Now, if I go back into the calendar, just for a brief moment, I'll go back into the calendar. I can go back into the calendar by clicking on the main menu. I have an option called calendar to go into the calendar. So now if I go into the facilities, I can see both my options, Foothill and my clinic, that is listed here. Now, the next thing is the provider. As far as the provider is concerned, there are two providers in this practice that are listed here. One is Dr. One and one is Shahzad Hashim. If you want to add one more doctor to this facility, one more doctor to this practice, you have to go into the users section. Basically, you have to create a new user who is going to be a provider, who's also going to have a slot in the calendar. So again, one thing I want to alert you when I go into this users is these areas like the users, the facility we created earlier, these are not going to be available for every user. It is going to be available only for some of the users. So I'm going to click on users and I go into that section. Now I'm going to click on add user. So I'm going to add a user called Dr. 2. I'm going to put in a password for this doctor and I create it. And I'm going to call him Dr. 2 and I'm going to put in an NPI. I'm going to make him a provider, which is the first thing. And if he needs a calendar, this needs to be checked. If he doesn't need a calendar, you can uncheck this. But if you want him in the calendar, you check this checkbox and you save it. Okay, he has to be given a user right because this person becomes a user. So I'll make him a clinician and I'm going to save it. So once you have added a new user who is a provider, he will become, now I have added Dr. 2. Now I can go back to the calendar by clicking on the sub main menu and clicking on the calendar, and it will refresh the calendar. And I have the two facilities and three providers, Dr. 1 and Dr. 2, which I just added now. Now, when all are selected, you see that at the time, all three have been shown here. If you just want to see one doctor's appointment at that time, you can just uncheck a couple of them and set event. You can see only Shahzad Hashim at this moment of time. So that is the setting with the facilities and the provider. Now, I want to go into showing you the usages of the calendar, which is the navigations that are there on the top, and then how to set up appointments of the patient and how to set up the provider appointments. So let me go through the navigations on top. First of all, you know about the facility, which is to select when there are multiple facilities. If you want to see the appointments only that are set on a particular facility, you use this filter. As far as the provider is concerned, the number of providers whom you want to see at a time, you can set from here. If you want to go to a different date, now you are on October 1st. If you want to see the schedule of October 9th, you can do so by clicking here. And same way, you can come back using, you can change the dates using this. This is a refresh button just to refresh the calendar. Then you have the option to search. So you can search for an event using this. So if you want to search for a appointment from October 1 to October 31st for, say, Dr. 2 in Facility Foothill Clinic, if you want to put in a keyword there, you can put it. If you just want to search for October 1st, anything for Dr. 2, you search. If there is no, because there is no appointments, it doesn't show up any result. So you can do so. This is a search area using a keyword, using the dates, whatever be it. You can. This is a search which can be run on the calendar at any point of time. Then, as far as the calendar is concerned, you have three views you can view it in. One is the day view. So you view only the appointments for 10/1/2015. Now, you have an option to view the appointments for the entire week or for the entire month at the same time. But you cannot do that for multiple providers. If you're taking the week view or the month view, you have to select one provider or it will stop you from doing so. So I'm going to select just our Dr. 2 and set event. Now, if I go into the week view, I can see the entire, there's nothing for this doctor, so that's why it's showing blank. Similarly, if you want a month view, you can click on the month and see the month view. Now, if you want to take the printout of the appointments for a week or for a day, in fact, you can click on print and it will give you a printout of the appointments that are there for a day. And probably I will explain some of these later, because once we have some appointments in the screen, this might be more meaningful to you. This is, if you want to add a new event or add a new appointment for a patient, you can do so by clicking here. But this is not necessarily this need not be used, because you have another option which I'm going to show you. This is if you want to go to the calendar for the next day to the second. If you can click this way, you can come back to the first by clicking here. I will tell about the info later. If you want to, if you are on another date, say October 29th, and if you want to come back to today's appointment, you can click on today and it will come back to October 1st, and that, so on and so forth. So I will explain this these views, the print, the check slot, and the info tab, and the settings that is there here at a later point, after we show you some of the applications and set up some appointments on the calendar. So first and foremost, let me create a patient appointment. So suppose, okay, we'll go from a provider appointment to a patient appointment. That might be more useful. So as far as Dr. 2 is concerned, we want to make him in office from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And from 1 to 2, we want to set him up for lunch. And from 2 to 4, you want to make him again in office. And 5 onwards, you want to make him out of office. So I'm going to go and click on the doctor's name. To create a provider appointment, you got to click on the doctor's name. So I'm going to click on the doctor's name. I'm going to make him in office at Foothill Medical Clinic at 9 a.m. for the next 3 hours. So 9 to 10, 10 to 11, 11 to 12, that is 180 minutes. I'm going to make this event recurring for every week, or for that matter, every day from 10/1. So you can make it recurring. You set once and you can set it for the rest of the year or rest of the week. So I'm just going to set it up for the rest of the till 9th every day, or I will rather make it every work day so that it comes only from Monday to Friday. And I'm going to save it. So it is 9 to 12 and it's in Foothill. So I'm going to save it. So it is going to show the provider appointment 9 to 12. Now I'm going to do 12 to 1. He's going to be at lunch. So I'm going to make it lunch, and I'm going to make it Foothill Medical Clinic, and I'm going to make the time again as 12, and I'm going to make it for 60 minutes. Again, I'm going to do every work day till the 10th. I'm going to save it. So this becomes lunch. So 12 to 1 is lunch. Now again from 1 to 4 for the next 3 hours. So I'm going to make it 1 to 4. So that is another 3 hours. I'm going to make him in office at Foothill Medical Clinic, and I'm going to recur it every work day till the 10th, saving it. So again, he's in office. If you hover on it, in office Foothill, lunch Foothill, in office Foothill. So at 4 a.m., I'm going to make him out of office so that everybody knows he's out of office. So I'm going to put it as 4 a.m. for say 2 hours just for demarcation. You don't necessarily need to do it, make a person out of office, but this will help others to know that the doctor is not anymore in the office at that time so that they do not go and book appointments in that slot. So I'm going to save it. So it's out of office. So in office, 9 a.m. to 12, 12 to 1. Now, one of the things I want to tell you is all this color that you have the red color here, the black color here. These are totally customizable. You can choose that. I will show that to you at a later point of time. Now, if I go into a week view, you will see that, since it was every work day, Thursday, Friday, I'm going to the next week. If I go into the next week, um, if I go into the next week, each of these days have been set with the same appointment. So, you can see it in a week view. That is the use of the week view. As far as the month view is concerned, the same thing comes up in a snapshot. So from Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all this has a color coding just to mention the provider events that are there. But this is a snapshot. There might be multiple appointments. That is why it is being shown so small. So that is the use of the day, week, and the month view. I'm going back to the day view. Now I'm going to book an appointment. Suppose a patient calls in and says that he needs an appointment at 9 a.m. I can click on the 9 a.m. I'll just click on the calendar itself at 9 a.m. and there are various visit categories that have been created. So suppose he's a new patient, you just choose new patient, and he wants to come into the Foothill Medical Clinic. So you come and choose Foothill, and what is the patient's name? You ask the patient's name. If he's already in the system, you can search, and he will come up. And you can add that the provider is 2 doctor, the one that you just selected, and by default, the duration of a new patient visit has been set as 15 minutes. Now, if you want to make an edit it as 30 minutes, you can do so from here, and you can save this as appointment, and it will come on the screen. So 9 for half an hour, 9 to 9:30 has been set, and that is your first appointment. Similarly, if a patient, just to recap it, one more thing that I want to say is if you go into the appointment, you can go back into the appointment by clicking on this area which shows the fact that he is in Foothill Medical Clinic. If you remember this, since we had selected a blue color while creating the Foothill Medical Clinic, and that is what is coming here. And you click on that, and you can just you can view multiple things regarding this patient, Mr. John Doe. If you want to view some of his demographic detail, you can click on the demographics, and you can see some of the Mr. John Doe. His date of birth is so and so, his address is so and so, and his email ID, and all those details that you have filled in. If there is any insurance detail that you have already filled in, okay, he has an insurance, and the insurance is the insurance provider one. And if you want to edit something, you can click on the edit and even edit the insurance details. So if you want to change something, you want to put in a plan name, insurance one, and you can save it from the screen itself. So you don't have to necessarily go into the details of the patient into any other area of the EMR, you can do so from this area itself. You can edit the insurance, you can add a new insurance if you like by clicking on add new, and it can allow you an option to add a new insurance. Just going back, it's not getting saved because there are some details missing. I just put in some dummy data there. And you can also, if there is any vitals recorded for this patient, you can see the vitals. If there is, as you can see for this patient, there is the blood pressure, systolic, diastolic, the weight, BMI, etc. For the various visits that has happened for this patient in the past, you can see the details from here. And at this moment, he's 30 years old, and what are his present vitals? You can see it from here. So just wanted to know, just while you book the appointment, you can also view the screens from here, which are pertinent to that patient. Now, if there is a patient that is not there in the clinic who calls in and asks for an appointment, you have this plus button. You can click on this to create a new patient. And then once you have created the new patient, you can come back here and, you can again an appointment. So I'm just going to do it for Mr. John Doe. I'm going to make him a injection patient for 45 minutes, and I'm going to save it. So it becomes, so this orange color and this green color, if you notice, it is the difference between the new patient's color and this is the injection patient's color. So each visit category can be created by you, a color can be set by you, and so on and so forth. Those are settings that are there in the calendar that I will explain a little further on in this meeting. So I'm just going to close this. Now you can change the timing of the appointment. You can, if you want to make it half an hour, you can pull it up. You can make it 1 hour or 1.5 hours, or you can change the timings, as well as by you change the timing by the duration by dragging and dropping this white small line that you have here. You can also change the timing. If Mr. John Doe decides to come instead of 10 a.m., he decides to come at 1 p.m., you can just click on the blank area and just scroll it down to 1 p.m. and same here. So you can do so with the appointments. Now, if you go into the week view, you will see this kind of a snapshot. If you go into the month view, you will see a smaller kind of a snapshot, which I showed earlier. So just wanted to show this, reiterate the week view and the month view once again. Now going back into the day view, I'm going to click on the search, and I'm going to search for these, just for Dr. 2, all categories, facility Foothill. I'm going to search. You see the appointments that you created, the provider appointments that you created has also come in as well. Yeah, just a moment. ECG, nothing with the ECG, injection patients. Yeah, it should be coming up. For some reason this is not coming up. It should, basically what it'll do is when you search an event, a provider's event, an injection patient in Foothill Medical Clinic, it will show all the appointments for that patient on that day. For some reason it is not showing, but it will show. Let me just check the date. I think I have done it for the 8th, not for the 1st. So I'm just going to do 8th, and I'm going to search again. Our new patient, John Doe, is here. If it is an injection patient, or if I put all categories, 2 appointments, which I created right now, along with the 4 provider appointments that we created, also have come in. Now, just closing this, this is a search appointment. Now you can also print the appointment for a day. You see the provider appointments, and all the appointments have come in as a snapshot here. You can print it. That will give you a print. Also, one of the features that I wanted to show you was the check slot. So suppose there are so many appointments that have been created, and doctor is in office from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. and 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. You want to check whether there is any slots available for a particular patient. You can click on check slots. You can put the date as 8th October. And I am going to put the provider as Dr. 2 and list the slots. you see it will show all the slots that are available on the calendar for a particular patient. Since we put a patient from 10:30 to 11, it is coming as blocked. Similarly, 1 to 1:30, it's coming as blocked. If you want to book an appointment, suppose a patient calls and says, I want to book an appointment for, say, the 15th of October, not 15, say 6th of October, for Dr. 2, and you can just click on list slots and it will show all the available slots. You can click on it and directly go on. It will directly load date 6th and the time that you have chosen, and you just put in the other details, put in the patient name, search him out and save it, and that appointment will be saved. So that is the use of check slot. You can check the slots that are available for a particular provider. Now, last and finally, regarding this overview of the calendar, you can view, there's something called as the info tab. If you click on the info tab, you can hover on a particular appointment to see the details, all the details regarding that appointment on the right hand side. You can do so. You can hover on it. You can hover on any appointment that is there on the screen, or the patient appointments, and you can see a detailed description of the appointment of the patient, what is his date of birth, what is the timing, etc. there on the right hand side. That is the use of the info button that is there. You keep it pressed, you keep it pressed down, it will come on the right hand side. You can uncheck it and it will go away. So that is the info tab that you have. Nextly, I'm going to show you some of the settings. So one of the things that I want to say was, there are various settings that are there in the calendar. Let me go back into the calendar. Now, there is the face sheet of the patient. If you want to go into, suppose you are on the 8th and you are just selecting set event John Doe. If you want to go into the face sheet of a patient, that is, you want to see the details of the patient in this detail, you can click on the patient name and it will move to the patient face sheet, where you can see Mr. John Doe's details as it is shown here. So I'm just going back into the calendar. You can go back into the calendar by using the bullets. The face sheet will open on the 3rd bullet or on any other bullet. On the 1st bullet, you will again go back to the calendar. So you don't have to necessarily go and reload the calendar every time you go out of the calendar. The calendar will be available on the bullet on the 1st bullet. Now, once you are in the calendar, you can move to the patient. If you click on a blank area, it will not move to a patient. You will again see the appointment details, which you can edit at any point of time. You can also click on this facility name to edit this. So if you click on the patient, it will move to the patient. If you click on the blank area or this area where the facility is shown, it will allow you to edit that particular appointment. Going forward, I would like to show you some of the settings of the calendar. Some of the settings of the calendar. So the settings of the calendar are divided into 2 portions. One is the settings that are there within the appointment creation area. So there you can see there are various categories here. You can set the color of the categories. The default timing now for injection, it is 10 minutes. There's a default timing that is set here. You can set that. That is the second thing you can set. Then you can set the various group comments. Suppose injection patient, there are various type of injection patient that come into your system, come into your practice. Suppose there is an injection patient who's coming for allergy shots, who's coming for flu shots. So you want to create a subcategory. In that, you can use this group comments area to create a subcategory. So under injection, we are going to create something called as allergy shot and flu shot. And so those group comments creation under a particular category, the color creation of a category, the default timing of a category, these are some things that I'm going to show you in the basic settings. Again, the settings won't be available to everybody. So I'm going to click on this settings ring here. So going into the settings ring, the first and foremost thing, the order in which these categories are shown when you click to create a new appointment can be changed by simply dragging and dropping. So if you want to make the walk-in come first, you can pull it first and you will see walk-ins first when you create an appointment. Similarly, the order in which the providers are shown from left to right can be edited by uh, scrolling up and down and rechanging the order. Now, this next thing that I want to show you while we are on the settings screen is how to create a new category. Suppose I want to create a new category. I can click on the new and I can create new a category called cancer patient. And I'm going to give it a color, say dark blue. And I'm going to set, this is where I set the default duration, which we had talked about earlier. For cancer patient, the default duration is going to be 45 minutes. And I'm going to provide a brief description, which is needed or not mandatory. And I'm going to say it's a patient appointment. Similarly, you can add provider appointments also, like the in-office lunch, we can say add a holiday appointment, which can mark the provider for holiday for the next 2 days or few days. So that's why the provider option is there. Now I'm going to just add a patient appointment and a patient category, 45 minutes. I'm going to show you what this group comment list is later in another example that we had mentioned earlier. So I'm going to just save it. So once it is saved, this has been created. So I'm going to go back and see the cancer patient is created and is at the top. I want to place the cancer patient third on the list. So I'm going to put it third on the list so that it is third. And I'm just going to close it and I'm going to, the calendar is going to get refreshed. So I'm going back to the 8th, the date that I worked with thus far. And I'm going to click at 11 a.m. to create an answer. The walk-in is the first, cancer, as we mentioned, is third. And when I take the cancer patient, the automatic default 45 minutes has come in. And that is all the settings that we have on the calendar. Now, that's a setting that is there on the calendar. You can create the default, you can change the order, you can create a new category. Now, if I create and I'm going to save it, you can see that the color is going to be the color that I chose for that category. Now I'm going back to the settings just to show you. Suppose, as I told earlier, the injection patient, we have an allergy injection as well as a flu injection. I want to add a list here which will subcategorize the main category. So I'm going to close this and I'm going back and I have the option to edit a present category, which is the injection. So there is also option to delete some of the category that the user has created, but there are certain standard categories that do not have the delete option. So I'm going to edit this injection option. Now I have to attach a list. So there is something called as a list that can be created within the system. So I'm going to show you that in a brief moment. I'm going to go into the second bullet here at the bottom just to manage my system. And I'm going to, in the sub menu, I'm going to take something called as list. If you remember, I had taken the preferences earlier from this sub menu. Now I'm going into the list. And from the list, I'm going to add a list called injection category. And I'm going to put in a list ID also, injection cat, INJ cat, and I'm going to create a new list. And in this new list, I'm going to add an option called allergy injection. And I'm going to add a new option called flu injection. Once I have created, I'm going to just save this list. So this is in the second bullet that I took. So I'm going to go back into the first bullet. I'm going to reload. I'm going into the category settings again. I'm going to edit the injection again. Now the new list that I created will come under this option. So I'm going to injection category. I'll go and search for I and I'll go into injection category and save it. So I have saved it with the list as, so the group comment list is the injection category list. I'm just going to close it. I'm going back to the 8th. I just want, for some reason, that is something I started liking during this presentation. So I'm going to choose injection. Now, when I chose injection, by default, allergy injection and flu injection are my options. So I need to choose one of them because that is how you subcategorize a category. Also, you have the option to put in your comments. In the allergy injection, if you want to put something like this patient comes after 2 months, this stays here. So I'm just putting this, I'm just going to increase the timing by a little bit. So if I put the info tab here and I hover on this, I can see all the details. The patient comes after 2 months and all those details on the right hand side of this patient. So I'm just going to close down the info tab right now. Now, there is another area of settings that is going to be available only to the chief administrator. Just like this is available only to the administrator, there is one more area of settings that I would like to show before I close. So I'm going into the second bullet and I'm going to take something called as a module installer. In the module installer, there is something called as calendar. I can open up the calendar, and under the calendar, there is something called as settings. So in this setting, there are various things that I can set. So first is the display style, facility event. Now, you see the facility is coming on the left-hand side and the event is coming on the right-hand side as a big color. If you want to make it as event facility, you can do so. And if you want only the event to show up, you can do so. So if I make it event facility, what will happen is even if I go back and just reload the calendar and I go back to the 8th, I'm going back to the 8th. The event is moved out to the right hand side. So basically the event is moved over to the left hand side and the facility has moved over to the right hand side. And if you make it just the event color, then it will become, and I have saved it, then I go back and just want to refresh it, only the event color comes. So that kind of a setting can be done. So I'm going to put it back to facility event for the convenience. Now, if you want the start time of the calendar, at the moment, if you look at it, it's 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. If you want to make it as, say, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., sorry, it ends at 6 here. If you want to make it as, instead of that, say, 7 a.m. and put the end time as 17, 18, 19. So let me put it as 7 p.m. and I'm going to save it. And if I go back and refresh the calendar, it's going to become, just a moment. Where did I put it? It's 7 a.m. Let me just save it. It's updated. So let me just reload the calendar to check how it comes. So it's 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. here. So that's how you change the end time, begin time. So now you see the calendar intervals between 7 and 8. It's a 15-minute block here. If you want to make it, say, 10-minute block. So it will divide each hour into 6 times. Successfully updated. I will go and refresh my calendar. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks. So that is something you can set. So I'm just going to put it back to 15 minutes. Now there is the appointment display style. You can, now if you see only the name, if I go back into my 8th, you see only the name of the patient here. If you want to see multiple things, like if you want to see the title, the comments, the group comments, everything that you have put on the appointment, you can save it that way. And if you save it, and I'm just going to go back and refresh, you see the Mr. John Doe has come. It's an injection patient. This patient comes after 2 months. All the comments, all the details have been shown here. So this is how you can display more details of this patient in the appointment itself. If you would like, if you just want a couple of details like just the name and name, you can just save it as name and you go back and refresh. You should have only Mr. John Doe. That is the setting. And final setting I want to talk about is regarding the provider event style. If you want to make it, some people have trouble seeing this line here. If you want to make it a fully colored version, I can just go here and make as colored slots, the provider event display style, and save it. And if I save it and I'm going back and I'm just refreshing, just give me a moment. Let me just go back and refresh the calendar. The provider appointment display style will show this way so that it is more visible in office, which office. You can just go and hover it, it shows foothill and so on and so forth. Some people may not want it, so they just leave it as a colored line. So I'll just leave it as a colored line. So these are some of the settings. These couple of settings are there, but in a way it is not used or it is redundant. So I think these 6 settings are the major things. So to recap the entire thing, let me just go back to my 8th just to and just to show you. This is the facilities, this is the providers. You can filter the appointments in a facility or a provider, set the date, have a day view, week view, month view, search for appointments here. You can print appointments, check for open slots, move to the next day, the previous day, find additional info, move back to today's date by clicking on today. You can find the settings of the category, etc. here, the color, the group comments, and all those things. Then you create the lists here as far as the category group comments are concerned. You have a preferences area, which I talked about first, to set up what you're going to see when you first come into the screen, whether you want to see the calendar or the analytics or whatever. The dashboard screen is a setting. Then the settings under the module installer, third thing here we discussed is the module installer. Under the calendar, you hit the ring and you come into the settings. We talked about 6 things, areas here, and this is this. Then there's the advanced settings, which is a repetition of what you saw when you hit on this particular ring. It is the same one and the same thing that you have in the advanced settings here. So basically, this is about a calendar. You use a calendar to create provider events, schedule patients on the calendar. You have a few settings, you create facilities, you create providers, you navigate through the calendar in various ways. You create your own categories, create your own group comments, and so on and so forth. If any of you have any questions, you can put that in the chat and I can reply to you. I can wait for 30 seconds for that. If nothing is there, then I will just close the meeting here. I believe there are no questions, so I will just close this meeting. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.